Compliments of the season, everyone. This is Business Incorporated, 55 minutes of doing business around the world. And here's what we have prepared for you. The most indebted countries on the continent, the list is out. Good enough, Nigeria is not there in the first 10. Then we'll go to South Africa and see how the Yuletide is being celebrated. Our correspondent fills us in. Inflation numbers out for Egypt, and for November, it's dipped. Happy holidays. I'm Ini John Mekwa. Let's do business. We start, well, not from the global space. A lot of the markets are not trading today, so it's a public holiday. The day is to open up gift. But we start from Nigeria and tell you that MTN Nigeria has extended its partnership with Intel by renewing their spectrum lease agreement. And this move is approved by the Nigerian Communications Commission and will significantly enhance network coverage and service quality for MTN customers across the country. Under the renewed agreement, MTN will continue leasing crucial spectrum bands from Intel. In 19 states, the lease for 5 MHz in the 900 MHz band and 10 MHz in the 1800 band has been extended for 2 years, effective May 1, 2025. For the remaining 17 states and the Federal Capital Territory, the lease extension is for 1 year, effective January 1, 2025. And this renewed access to spectrum will allow MTN to further improve 3G and 4G services, providing a better user experience for its customers. The Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited has launched a production monitoring command center which aims to transform hydrocarbon operations. Well, this initiative, driven by the NNPC Upstream Investment Management Services, builds on the success of the Command and Control Center to enhance monitoring, operational efficiency, and production within the oil and gas sector. The PMCC aligns with President Bola Tinubu's policy to increase efficiency and boost production in the industry. The PMCC is set to serve as a unified platform for monitoring hydrocarbon molecules from production to export terminals, covering joint ventures and production sharing contracts. And this is according to the NNPCL. So we expect there'll be more transparency in the system, and that will show in the number of our production at the end of every month.
So in oil and gas, what is that? It's basically trying to say that if I move 10 liters of A from point A, I need to be sure I have 10 liters of what you call A in point B. What the NNPC is trying to do now, which I believe they should have done a while back, is that using technology, so you have things like ATGs, automatic tank gauges, you have sensors, you have flow meters. However, what they have done is that we have gone on the back of what you call Internet of Things, basically. And you're able to, at a click of a button, see what moves from, be it shallow waters, be it onshore, be it wherever it is where the crude oil comes from. It's going to come from that location and it's going to go to a terminal. Now, from the terminal, obviously, it could either go to exports or go into refineries. But bottom line, what they're trying to do is that the custody or the quantity that moves from point A to point B is now seen on what you call a monitoring dashboard, which is the PMCC they have just launched.
A recent survey reveals that the cost of 25 liters of refillable vegetable oil, a staple for cooking, has surged from around 46,000 to 90,000. That's about 95% increase. The sharp price hike has left traders and consumers grappling with the impact as they celebrate the holiday. The price hike has particularly hit small businesses that rely on vegetable oil for production. Oil is a crucial ingredient for preparing festive dishes, jollof rice, and making all the fries that you would do. And this has caused a significant blow to Nigerian households despite the price increase. Some traders have reported a slight reduction in recent weeks. Well, I guess you may say that it's not just the vegetable oil that has seen that increase, but there's also news that some prices are also reducing. Perhaps demand is not as high as some traders had expected. Well, let's find out more about this, and especially today being Boxing Day when you're supposed to opening up gifts and all of that. How many did you get? How many are you sending to me? We have joining us here someone who's dealing with that business. So Monica George Aidu, she's the managing partner of Birth Urge Mercantile Limited, joins us in the studio. You really do look Christmas. I think you're intimidating me on my own show.
Well, you can choose to say that, Amy.
You look lovely.
Thank you.
Compliments of the season.
Same to you.
But the high cost of living in the country generally, how much has that impacted you, especially in your line of business where you deal with gifts and all that?
Well, first of all, to our viewers, Merry Christmas. I will tell you for free that the impact is highly significant. I'm talking about when I look at last year's sales, same period, I struggled to do 30% of what I did last year. So it's a tough call. It's a tough call. In terms of giftings, you see situations where people that would normally want to call you to say, oh, help us to have this amper to do this. It was just, I could barely get 20% of the number of people that would normally call me. So what does this mean for us? What does it mean for me as an entrepreneur? It means for me, my turnover has reduced. It means for me, my profitability has reduced. It means for me, my cash outlay has also reduced because, my spend power has reduced because it's when you have profit that you can spend.
But you also have higher price, higher costs.
So higher cost does not translate to higher profit. As a matter of fact, the profit at this time is a lot lowered because you need to also look at the buying power of people. Whatever you're doing, you need to look at the buying power of people. Otherwise, whatever it is that you have selling will just be there staring at you. In terms of what options we have, why is it that people are not buying as much as last year? So you want to look at the cost of, just like you said in the news earlier, you want to look at the cost of vegetable oil, which I dealt with last year. You want to look at the price of rice. Price of rice last year was 35,000 naira per bag, 50 kg. This year is normal rice, 95,000. If you want to go to premium is 160, 165. So people are saying, rather than buy that, they don't even have the money to buy to gifts in any case. So but rather than buying that, if I'd given you something worth 30,000, 35,000 last year, and I give you a cash equivalent of 40,000 naira, it's a better deal for us.
Are you saying people are doing more of cash gifts this year?
People are doing more of cash gifts this year. So leaving people like us, who would probably look at the gifting sector, leaving us in limbo, if you like. So it's not a good story.
So those gift cards, are they now, perhaps that's the way to go now?
Okay. So I belong to a group where we normally meet every month. And normally what you will get is like a bag of rice. This year nobody got a bag of rice. What we got, I don't want to mention the name of the brand. They just did gift voucher. They put it in the envelope. So go to the store yourself and pick up the gift. And of course, looking at the price of rice, looking at the price of vegetable oil, it's not in any way near.
So what's in the future? Because I know, I think we had a similar conversation last year where you re-strategized, you look back down to things that are produced locally, people now started adopting food items.
Correct.
Last year.
Correct.
So I wonder what next year will be like.
Honestly, God will help us. That's just the thing. Next year for me, I believe things would have been a lot better. Why am I saying so? I believe in the reform of the current president. Look at it. For the first time in how many years, the price of petrol at this time was reduced. Somebody can say, hey, in any case, the price went up. Yes, there's inflation everywhere, not just in Nigeria. But for them to bring down the price, number one. Number two, for fuel to be available. So I believe that things will get better.
So you believe that it will be worth the trouble?
I believe so. I believe that next year will be a lot better. It will be a lot better.
But how are you positioning yourself as an entrepreneur for that better time?
Absolutely. So I looked at the trend. People are doing gift cards. So it's for me to also consider that. Rather than say, hey, I have a bag of rice to sell, I have 25 laces of vegetable to sell, then I design my own gift card. Then whatever it is, you come. I can also do mini hamper for you in the food category. So in the food category that I mean is everybody will eat in any case. So if normally you would have gotten a bag of rice and you are getting a cash gift of 40,000, then that means that automatically that still comes back to me. Then you have to come back to me using my gift voucher. Then that means I will still be your vendor. But keeping quiet and folding my hands, then is all the way to go in today's business.
Well, I'm happy that you are, optimistic about 2025. But what do you do before the tide changes?
Okay, so in Nigeria, I think what we need to do, I'm not saying just me, what we need to do is to cut down on our expenses. And I see people have already started doing that. People are making choices. Rather than, go the way of gifting, then people spend time with their loved ones. Time is also, it's valuable. So rather than they spend time with their loved ones, they do entertainment together, they gist together, they watch movies together. That's something too. So if I'm not able to give you material gifts, then I can give you the gift of my time. I can give you the gift of my love to you in sharing my time with you. So for me, that's also a way of looking at it. But beyond all of that, is that I think as a people, we need to cut down. Yeah, we need to cut down. So somebody like me, I try to do that. And I normally have a breakfast morning every 25th of December, where I make breakfast. I call family and friends together. I have different assortments of things. But this year, I barely did 25% of what I would normally have done. And people came. And in love, we shared what I had. So for me, I think we need to cut down. We need to look at how, make choices. Brilliant choices that will help us to reduce costs, that will help us to reduce wastages. All right? The time calls for that.
Yeah, so it's not just about the government, it's also as individuals.
At individual
and in
level.
our households.
Yes. Even in religious, institutions. This year I see a lot of people where we would have shared 25 kg of rice. We are sharing 5 kg. It is the spirit, it is the love, not really what you've got to give, but the spirit behind it.
Interesting. I guess we have to learn lessons that will help us to survive. But I'm just wondering, you are into the gifts and all of that. Off season, then how is life? How is business?
Okay, so off season, I'm into other things. For instance, I'm into movie production. So off season, then I wear that cap. I'm also into outsourcing, which is going to, by God's grace, go into full blown next year. So we are working on that. That has not been revealed for now, but it's something we are working on by God's grace.
So we have to keep body and soul together.
Sure. Really have to do
Well, I believe with you and pray that 2025 we would, by God's grace, have this conversation, but it to be, with a different tone.
By God's grace.
Thank you so much, Omonike Georgia. I do managing partner, Berthed McIntyre Limited.
You're welcome. It's my pleasure to be here.
Great.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, so let's head to South Africa now, find out what's happening there. This year, a couple of days ago, we did celebrate 272 days of consistent power supply. They had a lot of load shedding is what they call the right there. That's affected the economy. Let's see if they were able to overcome that before Christmas. Our correspondent, Innocent Semosa, joins us. Hi, Innocent. Merry Christmas to you.
Merry Christmas to you, colleague, and our viewers around the world. It's good to be with you.
Great. So how is Christmas in South Africa?
Well, Christmas has been beautiful. I mean, it has been a time of giving, but also there has been that issue of people not having electricity in it because of the load reduction that the entity, the power entity that is Eskom is actually implementing. But over and above, it has been a beautiful festive season. I indicated earlier in my previous crossings that we have not had like major incidents on our roads where people lost their lives like other years. I mean, there are less fatalities. So, I mean, Christmas in South Africa has been beautiful, and it has been really a time of giving and a beautiful time of family,
Yeah, so I was just speaking to an entrepreneur who is into the gifting business, and she was telling us back here in Nigeria how she hasn't been able to, she didn't even get as much as 20% of the demand she got last year. How much has the austerity affected, the giving and the celebrations there?
Well, I think it has been a difficult year for many people. I mean, I've mentioned previously, Ini, that the numbers are simply not looking good with regards to the unemployment in South Africa. So that it has been a disparity for people to really make ends meet. For an example, Christmas is a time of giving, of course, as you rightly mentioned. But for some people who are not working, who do not have means to basically, buy gifts for their loved ones, it has been a really challenging time. But of course, from the Stats SA, we're getting that, pre-COVID levels in different sectors, but it's gradual, it's so slow. Many people would, expect for the economy to really, fast track quickly. But the challenge now, it's again the issue of electricity. It has really impacted the economy of South Africa, where some entrepreneurs, because you would know that South Africa rely heavily on electricity for mining, operation and manufacturing, So having been said that, it's challenging for these entrepreneurs to basically operate because they then rely on electricity. So for many young people, it has been a challenging one simply because of the issues of unemployment in the country. But by God's grace, again, we hoping that things would get better in terms of, young people getting more to contribute to the GDP of the country.
Yeah, what about conversations around renewable energy, as alternatives and all of that? How effective or potent does it sound like heading that way?
Yeah, so the minister addressed members of the media on Monday, and he was giving an update of the Energy Action Plan, also and the big window that people who actually qualified to be independent power producers who met the requirements set by Eskom and the Department of Energy. So the challenge here is that we finding ourselves with a situation where there's energy poverty in the country. Yes, energy is available, but the pricing of energy, it's now the challenge. Hence, we say it's energy poverty. So electricity is available, but people cannot afford the electricity. So that is one part. But another issue also is that they feel that the country is not yet ready to basically move away from coal. The minister, in fact, he said that they would do it gradually. They don't want to, move entirely from coal, because this is, of course, in line with the United Nations, sustainable development. But they say that it's too early for South Africa to actually move away from coal because it's still heavily, relied on coal. And also, there are some quarters, unions and civil society groups that feel that, the clean energy move will be a job bloodbath in the country. It will, put more strain on the unemployment in the country. So they feel that the country is not ready to do that. But again, the issue here, I think in part, it has to do with the issues of electricity availability, but electricity poverty. People are not able to afford electricity because of the pricing by NESA. But we do know that the government is in conversation with NESA to really understand the electricity pricing in the country. But they say that if the determination by NESA is not satisfying, they will take it forward. So we're hoping that they will really find a way to really make electricity affordable in the country.
Yeah, and it sounds like we're going to continue having this kind of conversations and the impact on the economy, even as we get into 2025.
Yeah, indeed, no doubt. I think the minister also mentioned that, yes, it's a slight progress, but South Africa is not out of the woods with the issues that has to do with electricity. Yes, it's not load shedding where they're protecting the grid. It is plant maintenance where there is vandalism of infrastructure of Eskom. They don't have enough a security guard to guard the infrastructure of Eskom. So hence we find ourselves with people stealing the copper cables, and it takes time for Eskom to come and fix that. So for entrepreneurs, that is an impediment. It puts them in a very precarious position because sometimes they would go for 3 days, 4 days without electricity while they're still sourcing the transformer elsewhere to come and put it. And a generator is simply not enough for the whole street to actually use a generator, because some companies use heavy machines for manufacturing, so it becomes really challenging. Yeah, but again, the issue here is the vandalism of Eskom infrastructure. I guess this is the time for them to perhaps strengthen their security with regards to guarding the infrastructure, Eskom infrastructure.
Yeah, well, one would have thought, the electricity is for everybody. So who are those going to vandalize them? You would also suffer from the, power outage. But I guess minds think differently here in Africa. But thank you so much, Innocent Semosa. We wish that in spite of all of this, you will have a great holiday period, Semosa.
Thank you so much, colleague. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, right. All right, let's take a break now. When we come back, Anita is here, and I think we have intraday numbers from some countries, obviously not from Nigeria or the United States. But Anita has the details after the break here on Business Incorporated. Stay with us. Welcome back. You're still watching Business Incorporated on Channels Television. We'll head to the markets now. Well, the partially trading market with Anete Edet. Anete, we see you still have Tuesday's numbers, at least for most countries at this time. The holiday is really a time for traders to spend time with their family members.
Yes, Amy, I quite agree with you. Christmas is one of the best the best, according to one of the songs that says, is the most wonderful time of the year,
yeah.
Of course. And then we journalists, we just have to do our jobs which
You
is
signed up
giving
for it, Anita.
exactly where essential service workers. The banks are closed, the discount houses are closed, financial markets are closed, but some of us are still doing our job. And take a look at our markets, the domestic market. It's still up about 36.29% year to date, and then at the same time, 4%. So now let's talk more about the market. It's not really news. This is the last close that we had on Tuesday. The market has been able, the domestic stock market has been able to cross back above the 100,000 points. And now at the last track here is 102,186.03 index points, which it had achieved at some point. The market had risen to about 106. And so far, it's still, last year we saw the market being 45% year-to-date performance, which was very, very impressive. And it's not too far from there, a little bit far, but so far the market is about 36.29%, which I just mentioned. And one of the reasons why this market was up is because of the MTN's positive impact, which was recorded on Monday, as well as on the Christmas Eve, which was on Tuesday. So far the markets will be looking forward to another Santa Claus rally. Santa Claus rally normally happens within the last trading days of the year and the first two in January. So we'll be looking out for a higher number when the market opens tomorrow, and then the final 2 days, two-day trading sessions for 2024 come on Monday and Tuesday next week. For the Johannesburg Stock Exchange, it was also a positive close. We're still tracking the numbers, 0.26% at 84,935.25 for that market. They were both closed for the Christmas break, which is yesterday, and still observing the extended Christmas break, Boxing Day. Okay, now let's turn to the other markets that we track on the African continent. The EGX 30, it's actually in session right now. At intraday, it was up 0.08%. 30,000, it's barely hanging to that 30,000 index number. It's been observing, recording a number of profit taking there, and it's not been able to cross into the 31,000 index level, still holding on to that number. While the Nairobi Stock Exchange All-Share Index, for the close of Tuesday's trading session, which is when all major markets around the world, particularly in this side of the continent, were closed, 0.18% in the red at 121.77 index point for that Nairobi Eastern African Market Index. Okay, so now from the equities market, we talk a little bit about the fixed income market. Yes, we know that we had it's been a holiday thin trading, so we didn't get to talk much about the fixed income market. We talked about the forex market, we talked about the equities market. So this time it's the turn of the fixed income market. And so for a review of just what happened for Monday, Tuesday, and then what to expect tomorrow, there's going to be a treasury bill auction. Let's talk to Bankole Odusoya, chief dealer with Polaris Bank. Thank you for joining us, Bankole.
Yes, how are you doing?
Oh, fine. And compliments of the season. I guess you're in the UK right now. So can you tell us, give us a little bit of a review of the last two trading sessions so far? How has investor sentiment been within this holiday thin trading week of Christmas?
Thank you very much, Anete. It's been a liquid end of the year. Federal allocations were pushed into the systems. And then we've seen a lot of influx also by interested parties coming in from foreign portfolio investors coming in to invest in some of our OMO bills as issued by the central bank. The central bank keeps issuing OMO not just to mop up liquidity, to tighten excess liquidity from system, but also to incentivize Naira holders such that they'll be discouraged from encouraged to hold Naira, and then discouraged from exchanging their current Naira to foreign currency. And we've seen some level of stability on the currency side. On the fixed income side, yields on treasury bills are still as high as 29%. We expect that to go on tomorrow as we have the auction, because there's an NTB auction tomorrow, and it settles same day simply because we had holidays on Wednesday. Normally the bills auction would have had on Wednesday to settle today, Thursday, but because of the holidays, we'll have the auction tomorrow. Settlement also is tomorrow, so we expect yields to be around 29% effective. Discount remaining at around 22.5 levels. So, but basically, it's been very active market because of these very good yields on the fixed income side. The short end of the market, Treasury bills, is more active compared to promissory notes and FGM bonds, where we see more of monthly activities around the bonds auction. So there will be going into next year bonds auction. We'll get a calendar from the DMO, but for now, well, we're done for the year on bonds majorly. So it's just majorly we're left with Treasury bills auction going into next year.
Okay, so you say you're done with bonds, but we have just about 2 trading days left after we have that primary market, the Treasury bills auction tomorrow. What should we expect for Monday and Tuesday, which is going to be the final trading day of 2024 for the financial markets?
On the fixed income side, there will be more activities on the Nigerian Treasury bills space. We expect that once the auction closes around discount rate of 22.5, usually you'll see the rates trend down to around 21.5, 21.75, effective yield at about 28. So what's going to happen is that for those who lose out of the auction, also didn't have funds at the day of auction, they would have to stop by at the secondary market to trade. So you'll see margins being created by the winners at the auction, and then interested parties, some of them foreigners, coming into the auction. So usually when this happens, you also see some impact on the FX market because there will be some injection of FX by FBIs who are interested in picking up secondary market bills, and then it impacts on the yields, dragging down just a bit. So we expect more activities on Treasury bills for the last trading days of the market, and then a lot on the overnight interbank placement market also, where a lot of funds will be borrowed and placed by surplus units by banks who have excess monies to banks who probably are trying to shore up their position as they end the year. So basically, it's more short-term bookkeeping going into the end of the year, and then bonds actions will resume next year in the next few days.
Okay, Bankole, so before I let you go, in just 20 seconds, the markets will resume after that Tuesday close and observing the New Year break on Wednesday. What do you expect? How do you expect that the market will open for Thursday next week into 2025?
On the fixed income side, we've seen high yields continue to stay. The central bank governor has promised or giving forward guidance that in Q1 we're expecting tightening to continue, of course, because of what we have seen on inflation. Inflation uptick continues in Q1, so we expect tightening to continue. But on the FX side, we've seen stability already, especially since the introduction of the e-firms. There's a possibility that the parallel market where the BDC operators operate will get some more injection of liquidity when banks start selling to them. Of course, the central bank has announced that we're allowed to, but I believe there's a guideline that is being worked on that will, help up shape the operations of how we supply cash to the BDC. Because ordinarily in the last few years, they've been getting their cash from the central banks directly. And now, you have to talk of operations cost and the cost of insurance and, the operational guideline around delivering cash to the BDC. Once that happens, we expect rates on the parallel side to come closer to where we have rates at the Nigerian interbank space, where it's closer to 1,540, 1,550. So that's our expectation going into Q1 next year. High yields remain on the fixed income securities products. On the FX side, stability is expected to continue to range around 1,550 or even lower at 1,530, like we've seen in a few days in that we've traded in the FX markets.
Okay, thank you so much, Bankole. Of course, we look out for this, your projections and for that NTB auction to be carried out by the Central Bank at the Debt Management Office tomorrow. So thank you so much for your time on the show.
Thank you.
That was Bankole Odusonya, Chief Dealer with Polaris Bank, giving us details about the fixed income market, expectations and outlook for 2025 and for the NTB bills. Okay, so the Middle East, yes, these are the only ones, not one of the major markets around the world that are not observing Christmas break. So they're in session, but it's mostly negative sentiment, except for the Dubai index or the United Arab Emirates. It's up by more than 0.5%, 0.54%, 5,110.98 for that index point. while its other second there is down by 0.41%, 9376.25. for that index number. And then for the other markets, for the Saudi Arabia and the Qatari Stock Exchange, both in the red for intraday, and this will be their last trading day for, actually for the week, but then they'll be open on Sunday for trading, and that's it for the markets on the Middle East. And from the Middle East, we go over to the United States. Well, it's still observing the Christmas break. Also, it's still a holiday shortened week. But overnight, although averages, they had jumped on Tuesday as the market pulled back up to gains in the holiday week. And so far, we see the markets where the stock futures there, they're all in the red, 0.49% for the Dow Jones Industrial Average. The S&P 500 also almost the same margin, and the same thing for the NASDAQ futures. So far, we've seen that on Tuesday, the markets had added about 1.1%. That's for the S&P 500. The Dow Jones Industrial Average was up by about 0.91%, while the NASDAQ climbed by 1.35%, which was helped by a jump in the shares of Tesla. And we also see the shares of NVIDIA, which has climbed by about more than 186% year to date. So now we'll be looking out for the opening of for the trading of Friday's session and see whether this market will come into the green session for the opening bell on Friday. And finally, for the stock markets that we track around the world, for the Asian markets, mostly positive there, particularly for the Nikkei, which was up by 1.12%. And this is coming after the government has announced that they're planning a $735 billion record budget. So the markets are responding to this. And the Nikkei is above, almost close to the 40,000, just about just a few digits away. And all the markets were in the green for the close of Friday's trading session. Some are still on holiday. Ini, that's it.
Thank you so much, Anite. I'm sure we'll see more markets alive tomorrow when the world will be out from this holiday. Thank you.
Pleasure.
Now let's head to Germany, where it's Boxing Day in Nigeria, but you know it's Boxing Day different days in Germany. Well, for them, it's the last day of Christmas, and it comes to different traditions around the world. In many parts of the world, it's finally time to open those Christmas presents like we're doing here in Nigeria, in the UK, and Canada. It's a day of post-Christmas bargain shopping. And what about in Europe? Well, Lars gives us the picture of what's going on right there. Lars, how is it looking over there in Europe?
Thanks for having me, Ini, and a Merry Christmas to you, too. Well, not much going on here, really, because Boxing Day isn't a thing in Europe outside of the UK, of course. In Germany, we've opened our Christmas presents on the 24th, so that is now 2 days ago, and that's why I was able to bring you those retail figures yesterday. The holiday shopping season is over. There is no more bargain hunting here or any such a thing. The numbers, however, were pretty weak, and, well, maybe the same is true, unfortunately, for the general Christmas mood in Germany these days. It's gray and rainy. We've just had that deadly terror attack on a Christmas market last week. And we're dealing, of course, with a really weak economy. Then again, Christmas is a time of hope, and I guess many are hoping that in the new year, things will get better.
Hey, that things are supposed to get better. The early elections next year, Lars. What are you hearing about this?
Well, there is a new survey out that's been looking into how CEOs and other high-ranking managers view the election. The survey starts off by asking about their emotions. Now, shockingly, the top 3 emotions checked were uncertainty, which 41% of respondents feel, anger with 31%, and a loss of power and control with 28%. And only in 4th place, with around a quarter of managers checking that box, is hope or optimism. So clearly negative emotions are overwhelming in the German business community. Not entirely surprising considering the economic situation, but certainly worrisome.
Yeah, so how do this political opinion translate? I mean, the business opinion translates to political results?
Well, that's a good question because there are some pretty strong links. Now, among those that are feeling hopeful, again, that's not many, but those who are hopeful tend to support the Green Party. Those who feel anger are siding with the Alternative for Germany party, the AfD. Now, that is the far-right extremist party, and that's not really surprising because growing anger in the general population over a weak economy, low wages, but also migration and such topics have brought upon the AfD in the first place. What I find extremely surprising, the fact that 20% of managers in that survey want the AfD to head the next government, and 18% actually say that they trust the AfD most when it comes to handling the economy. That is surprising because the AfD has not really ever shown much of an economic concept. In fact, some of their most populist ideas are downright dangerous to the economy. That includes the mass deportation of migrants. Many of them are in fact needed as workers in the German labor market. We are looking for more migrants, especially skilled laborers, to come here to strengthen some sectors of the economy that need help. And having a strong right-wing extremist party most certainly won't help with that.
Yeah, Lars, thank you so much for that background and the details.
Thank you, Ini.
Okay, so let's come back to Africa now, and starting with World Bank. In a bid to make borrowing more affordable for vulnerable countries, the World Bank says that it's scrapping several loan fees, aligning with its goal to tackle urgent global issues such as climate change, inequality, and economic instability. In a statement shared on its official X handle, the Bretton Woods institution highlights the removal of prepayment premium on International Bank for Reconstruction and Development loans, and then a grace period for commitment fees on undisbursed balances, and then extended low-cost pricing for small and vulnerable states. The World Bank explains that it seeks to make it easier for countries to borrow and to pay back their loans more easily by removing some fees on IBRD loans. It also mentions that the adjustments on its capital framework reflect a commitment to scaling up resources while maintaining financial stability as it seeks to maintain its AAA credit rating. Well, Egypt's core inflation dips below 24% for November 2024. The Central Bank of Egypt's monthly inflation report revealed that the annual rate of core inflation decreased to 23.7% in November. That's compared to 24.4% the preceding month, October. This coincides with a decrease in the monthly core inflation rate to 0.4% in November 2024 compared to 1% in November 2023 and 1.3% in October 2024. These monthly developments in core inflation reflect a decline in the prices of basic food commodities such as poultry and eggs, although the decline was partially offset by an increase in the prices of certain services such as rent. The monthly rate of general inflation recorded 5% in November 2024 compared to 1.3% in November 2023 and 1.1% in October 2024. The chairman of the National Bank of Egypt, Mohammed Al-Terbi, announced that interest rates are expected to decrease by 3 to 6% over the coming year, anticipating a decline in inflation rates. In a meeting with Prime Minister Mustafa Abdullah and a number of investors from various sectors, he adds that the inflation will decrease and interest rates will decline between 3 to 6% in 2025. We're still in Egypt, where the central bank is set to hold its final rate decision for this year today. And strong expectations suggest that the Monetary Policy Committee of the CBE will keep key interest rates unchanged for the 6th consecutive time. In its previous meeting in November, the MPC decided to keep steady the interest rates, which serve as a primary indicator of short-term trends for the Egyptian pound, marking the 5th consecutive decision to put them on hold. The MPC statement emphasized that despite growing expectations for lower global commodity prices, particularly energy, inflation risks remain due to the vulnerability of commodity prices to supply shocks such as global disruptions and adverse weather conditions. Well, Nigeria is missing in the list of top 10 African countries with the highest debt as at November 19, 2024. And this is according to a report by Business Insider. The most indebted on the list is Egypt with $9.3 billion, followed by Kenya and Angola with $3 billion and $2.9 billion, respectively. The least indebted on that list is Morocco with $1.1 billion. The Nigerian government spent more than $2.2 billion to settle matured external debts between January and June 2024. A breakdown of figures show that in 2024's first quarter, that's January to March, the Nigerian government spent $1.12 billion to service debt owed to various foreign entities. Now, Russia has confirmed that 9 nations have agreed to join Brics as partner states, with their status becoming official on the first day of 2025. That's January 1, 2025. Well, the nations are Belarus, Bolivia, Indonesia, Kazakhstan, Cuba, Malaysia, Thailand, Uganda, Uzbekistan, and they've already confirmed their readiness to join. A report citing Kremlin aide Yuri Ushkov says that from January 1, they will officially acquire the status of Brics partner states, while responses from 4 additional countries are anticipated soon. It mentioned that Eritrea has expressed interest in cooperating with Brics. Partner states will be invited to participate in Brics summits, foreign ministers' meetings, and other forums, including security discussions, as well as parliamentary events. Let's find out if Ladi Williams is also going to be at those meetings. Perhaps he's going to also have a new status. Ladi, I don't know if you're going to be part of Brics. I know Nigeria has expressed interest to be part of it, but I guess we haven't taken the steps yet. From January, we have, and this Uganda is close to us. Yeah, so they're going to be.
Who knows? We might get our own approval.
Yeah, but don't forget that President Trump is against some of those policies. You know, the de-dollarization efforts by Brics.
Yes, anything that's not going, or any transaction that's not going to use the dollar for international settlements, you're going to get a huge, hefty tariff. And we already see Russia already trying to use bitcoins for international
but Ladi, you know, I know you're anxious to get to your red board.
Yeah, it's really red.
I see your shades of red.
It's so red.
Yeah, I wonder how this will affect the relationship between incoming President Trump and Mr. Putin. We know their relationship is very cordial.
Had a cordial relationship.
Yes, so I mean, we see Russia on this side of Brics against the dollar, and we know President Trump, when he goes out there really hard. So I wonder how
it'll be quite a bit. It'll be interesting to see how it all plays out, because at the end of the day, Trump is all about America first. He's all about, you know, the dollar,
America first,
being the dominant currency, but he's also backing Bitcoin, you know, at the same time. So it's going to be very interesting to see how it unfolds.
Ahead of us in 2025.
You know, in 2025. We'll watch out for all the intrigues in most of these markets. But for the crypto market now, it's blood on the streets at this point. Bitcoin failing again to cross the $100,000 level. 3.17%, big drop there, and we see the altcoins also bleeding out most of the profits from over the weekend. Let's look at the sentiment in the market. How are investors feeling now? I'm looking at the Fear Greed Index. We know it was still greedy for the most part, but let's see if it's still greed there. Yeah, extreme greed still 79 points. Over 100, finally meeting up with me at this point. Let's look at the top headlines in the crypto market. Now we see El Salvador, they've continued their Bitcoin buying spree. That's the smallest and most densely populated country in Central America. They're still piling on more Bitcoins, adding another to its coin to its treasury. You know, on Christmas Day, they boosted their reserves by about 5,997 Bitcoins, and that's valued at a cool $595 million. So we see El Salvador still buying more Bitcoin, following the likes of MicroStrategy. then we see the altcoin season index. That's a popular metric there to gauge by coin market cap to gauge when the altcoins will start rising. That rose by 1 point to about 48. That was today, signaling that the cryptocurrency market remains in Bitcoin season, but it's showing some kind of subtle increase there. We know investors love the altcoin season. That, according to them, that gives more gains than what you would see with Bitcoin, even though Bitcoin is up over 100% year to date so far. So we see Bitcoin maintaining that dominance as most altcoins have fallen again, with Bitcoin dropping about 3%. All right, then we see Russia. They're using Bitcoin in foreign trade. That's Russia's finance minister, Anton Siluanov, says Russian companies have begun using Bitcoin and other digital currencies for international payments following legislative changes that allow such use in order to counter Western sanctions. And I remember back when we were covering the Russian invasion of Ukraine, there was always comments from Russia talking about finding ways to circumvent the Western sanctions, and Bitcoin and cryptocurrency was a major force there that the Russians were using to bypass some of these sanctions from the US and its allies. So definitely interesting to see how much Bitcoin grows for international settlements. Then we also see, according to a Bitcoin historian, as there's just about 6% left of Bitcoin's total supply that's left to be mined. And we know Bitcoin has a total supply of about 21 million coins that will ever be available. And we've seen a lot of companies and countries, buying as much Bitcoin as they can, even at these high prices that we're seeing at the moment. So that again is going to play into how much Bitcoin is left to be mined. Just about 6%, 1.2 million Bitcoins left. We're supposed to discuss how that's going to impact the cryptocurrency market, how that's going to impact Bitcoin's price, going forward. We've heard about conversations about limited supply, but unlimited demand. And we did hear Jerome Powell say gold, Bitcoin is like gold. So he called it digital gold, and we saw the impacts for the market. So 2025 is very interesting. It remains to be seen, going forward, when all the Bitcoins are mined, what's going to happen next? Does it mean you would have to trade, to get access to Bitcoin? What happens to miners? Will there be no more miners once all the Bitcoin is mined? So many questions there in the crypto world, Ini, and definitely it's pointing to some kind of direction, at this point, seeing that all the Bitcoins are almost mined.
Just 6%. Just 6%.
Left.
So if you have a Bitcoin today, laddie, hold it. I know yesterday, MicroStrategy, they did share how they bought 113,000 Bitcoin between November and
That's
today.
a lot of Bitcoin.
Yes, and then El Salvador now. So I guess it's going fast, and perhaps it's truly...
What's going to happen with the miners once
they'll be out of
the
job?
last block is mined?
They'll be out of job.
Out of a job. That would be so weird.
Well, I think they'll just have to look for maybe another coin.
I don't think Ethereum would have maxed out by then. Maybe Ethereum might still have, maybe they'll move to the next cryptocurrency that has a lot of supply.
Yeah, because what were the miners doing before they started mining Bitcoin?
Right. Maybe we're mining.
And don't forget also, laddie, maybe for you, it wasn't out of the blues, but out of the blues this year, we saw Telegram and all those activity around there. So, someone as we speak is already thinking of the next Bitcoin
What's
or the
next Bitcoin.
Yes.
After everything is mined. Who knows?
Who knows?
So much to look out for.
Yeah, all right, laddie.
And I'll get my gift after this from you.
Oh, I'll think about that. So that's it on the program. Thank you so much for being a part of Business Incorporated. Well, Laddie's waiting for his gift. I'm also waiting for my gift. So when you give me, I'll give it to him. Well, it's been interesting. We'll do it again tomorrow, the final one for the week on Business Morning and Business Incorporated. You on holiday. We're happy to make your holiday an informative one. I'm Ini John Mekwa. Bye-bye.